What's up, everyone? Tyler Tamboline here, aka Toe Tag and Tambo, and I'm here on a Thursday morning. It's a sad day, actually. I got my guy Big T with me. I'm not sad about that, but I'm on the Mangone and Friends show as the host. I still have not got brought on as a friend, so I had to come on and just take over the duties from my guy Mangone. He's out for the count today, but Big T got you here, starting off another major in the PGA. We got the PGA Championship. We just saw our guy Skyhook DFS on Twitter post out all the numbers, all the breakdowns, the duplicates, the ownerships, some of the wave stacking stuff is pretty interesting. So how you doing this early Thursday morning? I'm not sure how late you were up doing your lineups and whatnot, but then, what do you think so far from what you've seen?
Yeah, I always enjoy the morning when Sky sends out these numbers. We were talking about it before, where he's just the man with this data, and he even sent me a sheet with like all the 150ers. And there wasn't many 150 with the wave stack. It's stunning what he can do in a quick period of time too. I asked him how many had it, like 2 seconds later, that's coming back. It's crazy what smart people can do that. I mean, it would take me forever to figure out how to do that kind of stuff, but he's awesome. And I think it's important to look at this stuff on Thursday before the results start coming in and bogeys come in and birdies and weather and you can't, it's really hard, right, Tambo, after the weekend to look back and be like, okay, this guy was a good play, this guy wasn't, after the results are in. Even for us that we've done it forever, you still feel like when a guy sucks that he was probably a bad play, and when he crushes, he was a good play.
Yeah.
But I think we can kind of look through some of the players and just give our takes on what we would do based on the numbers now, I think is one way to look at it too, because there's a lot of ways to use the data. And what Sky gives us, it gives you a chance to look at everything before the results come in.
Yeah, let's head over to I'm going to look at the $25 here just to try and pull that up. So we've got the exact ownerships and stuff. I know the other joke, you tweeted about it, but our boy JSU, 128 lineups. He did not go all in. You and Hoopster.
Then this guy blamed me. He sent me a freaking text. He's like, oh, you set me up with your note sheet. I said, well, how come I don't have any freaking PM guys in there? My note sheet didn't mess me up. He was trying to blame me for hedging. At least Tambo knows his plan. He's going to know what he's going to do with the different spots. JSU tries to blame it on me. How's it my fault?
I thought he might. Sometimes JSU just will put in like less than the number. Maybe put like, some guys put in like 120 just so they don't get called out when people analyze the 150, or they put the 149.
That's actually a funny point. Put a little less than the 150 so you don't get thrown in there.
The best is your boy.
I've never thought of that.
You said, I'm hurt just looking at your buddy there that had, I can't remember his first name. It started with the A, but he put 149. Alex, yeah. And you put him, he was just trying to come in under the radar so no one caught on, and you call his ass right out. So
I didn't realize what you were saying, though. Alex, I know you're out there watching. Tambo caught you. You put in one less so you don't get analyzed.
Big T caught you, though. Sorry, Alex. Got you. So going back to it, we talked last night. We obviously have the premium show over at Run Pure Sports. If you guys haven't yet, hit that like button, hit the subscribe. I know it's early, but we're here doing our thing, trying to help you guys out, talk through some things, just get some ideas out there. But we talked last night on the premium show about this weather and wave stack and everything. Clearly, Big T, it affected some manner of what happened here. Like someone just hit me up on Twitter, and I think it was always going to be higher in the high stakes. That's what he said, and I agree. It was going to be in the 44. People were just going to move after this. They're not going to take the risk. There's bigger money on the line. The weather edge did look significant enough to get after it, where it was like there could be a 2 to 3 stroke advantage, could be. But if there wasn't, it wasn't like you were dead. That's what we figured out when we were going through it. Like it was like you would be stuck with none of those afternoon guys like Rahm, JT, Scheffler, some of the big names. But it wasn't like you were a dead lineup. It wasn't like the players where you were going to get flipped on your head and end up on the opposite side and get screwed. You just weren't going to have those big dogs up top. So what are your thoughts on that at first glance? And then just comparing it to the $25, obviously a huge difference. Not as many people went after it there.
Yeah, I mean, there's tons of ways to like unpack this stuff when you look at it. But I would say for most people out there, I think it's really good to look at, say, this week's a perfect example, the $20 or 25, whatever it was, 20, I think, Millie Maker versus the 4K Millie Maker. and just look at the ownership differences, and just that's where the edge is going to be in the smaller stakes. We can take this conversation to the next dynamic with how chalky it is if we should pivot back, kind of like Hoop talked about yesterday. But in general, basically everyone watching this is probably more of a lower stakes player. You should be thrilled if you get in there and look at your guys and they're much higher owned in the higher stakes, like the 4K. It's not always like this week. I mean, this week was massive differences where the sheet Sky sent to us on Twitter, you can see it where actually he just retweeted it right as I was saying that, or someone did. You got just an absurd, what is this one? He was showing the players. So at the players, the full PM stack, the full weather edge, which we thought going in was 6% in the 20, 15% in the 4K. And then this week, I think I thought it was the same one, so I don't have it up, but it was like 8% on the correct side, or what we think is the correct side.
Yeah.
And 30% or something was in the 4K. So, and like we always say on these shows too, the people that do it don't fully do it, as you can see by the sheet too, where there was literally only 8 people that did all 150 full stacks. And I think they were all Run Pure people or close to it. I recognized like 6 of the names. Yeah. So basically no one besides Run Pure full stack the AM stuff.
Yeah. And then this time, so that was the interesting part to me, is like in the whatever it was. I think last time it was actually $20. This time it was 25. They switched it up a little bit.
Oh, it was 25.
It went from 6% to 8. The funny thing is the other side didn't do much either, like similar percentage wise, but it only went from 1%. Last time, if you were like contrarian and went with AM PM, because at the players PM AM was the perceived good wave. If you went the other side, only 1% did. You could have been in great shape, because when that one got flipped on its head, it actually was a huge advantage the other way. Here, only 2% decided to go the opposite way. A lot of people just ignored, and that's probably fine. Like I said, I got no problem with that. The interesting part was, like you said, in the higher stakes stuff, this time it went up to almost, I believe, 30%. I think it was 29% in the highest stakes, at least in the mega, that went up to this full AM PM. And then you see the differences, right? That was just obvious. It goes without saying, but like Norin went from 14% to 31% in the 44-44. Rory, 22% to 36. Spieth didn't change much. Surprisingly enough, he went from 26 to 31. I don't know if that's because, like you think about Spieth when you go into the higher stakes, talked about it a little bit last week. Last week's a little bit different because I think with the Birdie Fest last week, having someone in there that is, a safety play is okay. Here, it's more of the pivots are legit major winners and stuff that you're trying to get after. So I understand why people probably didn't go as much on Spieth or tried to look away, but it looks like it kind of flip-flopped, Big T, because what people did was obvious kind of going in, but Spieth was $100 less than Cam Smith. And so when people saw the ownership today in the mega, they were like, holy Cam Smith, he went from 19 up to 32 almost. So that's where everyone went instead of Spieth in the big tournament. But there's a lot of other ones in there. I think it was pretty obvious. Some of the value plays is like, let me ask you this. Is there anything you would have done differently based on knowing this now? Like Mito's almost 17%, for example. Bobby Mack up to almost 15%. Talking about the mega. Again, they're less in the $25, but we're trying to talk about the differences in knowing how these things are going to change. Anything that you would have done differently based on that, or is just certain lineup constructions that you avoided them?
Yeah, I mean, it does get trickier when you get to the high stakes stuff, just because, all those guys you just named were significantly higher in the high stakes. So, I mean, if you're telling me Bobby Mack, what did you, hold on, let me pull this part up. Well, what did you say? 16%?
So, Bobby Mack went from 7% to almost 14, for example. Mito went from 10 to almost 17. Like you had to know some of these were getting steamed up. Norin was a prime example. A guy I loved, a guy I have a ton of, but in my mega, once I saw where my mega was going, I had already assumed that Smith was going to get more ownership than what he was in the main. Cam Smith, that is, I used him, but I had Hovland in there to offset the Rory, and I was squeezing Rory and Spieth with Hovland and Cam. But then I knew if I go with the same guys at the bottom as everyone else, it's not going to give me any leverage. So I dropped down to like Davis Riley at 3%. That's my one example. But I'm saying when you know that stuff, I think you have to be cognizant, like you have to understand where your roster construction is going going into it. If you have that feeling or that understanding, if you watch the shows that we put out, things like that, you have to know what your lineups, tell the story of your lineup basically.
Yeah, I agree completely. And just like looking at your team, you said you pivoted from who to Riley?
No, Norin was going to be, I figured, like 15
like,
to
you know
20.
how good that pivot is right
He ended
now?
up
Like
30.
that pivot is incredible. You get Riley, and we talked about this a few years back where, I mean, if you told me, obviously we don't know going in, I knew Norin would be popular, but I thought he'd be 15%, 20% maybe, which is fine with me. But once you get up to 30, man, that becomes a very good fade at 30% Norin. I mean, that is just too high for a 7K guy like that. And you pivot to a guy that's treated us well, Davis Riley, 3% owned. Like that is you're talking. We talk about this all the time. I mean, 30% and 3%.
10 to
I
1.
get that it's not an equation like that, but it's still 10 times higher odds that he's not going to beat him at that percentage of a clip to matter. Like it's just. So I like what you did here, and you got the Hovland. Tambo's better than anyone at getting different in spots, and I make fun of it a little because I'm more of just by the book and jam it in there. Nobody's better than Tambo though at getting different looks and different ways to attack a slate. And Hovland's another good example. So the two guys in your team, like sure, you got Chalky, Cam Smith, who's a great freaking play, Zalatoris, great play, Finau, great play, 20%. Kuchar, even at 10%, is great. And then you get your two leverage plays, Hovland, who's 12%, but that's still great leverage, and Riley at 3%. Like, I think that is a great construction no matter how the results come in.
You can't, like usually we always talk about this. You don't want to really be results oriented, but we do want to make sure. And I was talking about this too. You miss out on some stuff. You can't play everyone, especially when you have a single bullet like that. But the idea of knowing what the field is doing is so important because it's all about, that's what you're up against. People forget that. Like everyone's a good play on paper, but you're still playing against a field of 600 players playing daily fantasy. I don't really care the names as much as, like Hovland can't chip. Maybe he sucks at chipping this week like he always does, and he misses the cut. But I'll go down with that going in because that was the construction I wanted to get after, where it was just a little bit different. The other thing I want to ask you about too, just real quick, because this was a conversation we had pretty in-depth last night. I don't think enough people talked about this, as the week went on. Obviously, weather took over, all of these factors, but I don't think enough people, and this is what I tried to do with my lineup there, I don't think enough people built for the weekend. And what I mean by that is when you see, again, I think Mito's a great talent. There's no real difference between him and Riley, so I can't really argue this. I'm just saying when you look at some of these guys that picked up steam, you still have to do something over the weekend. Of course, we all want 6 of 6, but at least if the weekend firms up a little bit like it may, it gets a little tougher. You can see guys shoot 15 over on a weekend here, and that doesn't help your cases in a major if there's guys shooting even par. So that's why like a Kuchar or something like that, where you feel like they can grind out, even if it's a 2 over par, that might be better on Saturday than someone shooting 7 or 8. It is better than someone shooting 7 or 8 over. I'm saying it might be better with that mindset going in. So I was still trying to build for that concept of guys that could grind it out over the weekend in tough major conditions. Do you do anything like that? Or, what did you do for some of your lineups when it came to that?
Yeah, I mean, I usually do that. I mean, this time I just stuck with the weather, but I do agree with that. Like once it gets to Saturday, we're back on a level playing field where, I mean, in general, sure, there could be better conditions in the morning or whatever, but you're back on a level playing field between the sides. So, and there's going to be, like we said yesterday on the show, like there's going to be tons of people still in the, even if the AM is the better draw, there's still going to be guys that just don't play good and miss the cut. And on the other side, there's still going to be good guys no matter what, even if the weather gets bad, that still play good and make it. And then once you get to the weekend, I mean, chances are when you play 6, like my player pool where I play all early wave stacks, chances are it might not be the nuts, but overall, I think it gives you a better chance if the weather hits to profit. I talk about this a lot, like in baseball and different sports too, where you jam it in there, or basketball when there's like an obvious night where 2 stars are out or something, and you just jam it in there. It's really hard to hit the full nuts doing it that way, but it also gives you a great chance to be in position to have a good week, make money, be in position to do it. But I think you can hedge it in different ways. And I don't know. It's interesting to look at some of these, like the uniques on the big Millie Maker. I was looking at it.
Going to it now there. I do like what you just said though about that. Like, again, you're kind of talking about like a ceiling floor situation with your portfolio. And I don't think anybody talks about stuff like that, but the idea is like, look, it's going to be tough to find the exact nuts. That's the hardest part in DFS. Obviously everyone wants to ship first place. Yeah. The point is more, you're saying it can be within that portfolio. You don't know exactly how the whole night's going to shake out, but you do know there's a very good circumstance that's causing this to be the right play. And you're building in a ceiling of like a profitable night, which all of us will take that play, full time or play any type of volume in daily fantasy. And then your ceiling is you might have that unique winner, or you may be part of the big chop, and you never want to be part of the big chop. But if it fits into the mold, like if the AM/PM situation plays out here, that's kind of how it shakes out. And there's still ways in golf to get different. It only takes 1 or 2 spots or leave a little bit of money on the table that you could still do this. And we talked a little bit about that on the show last night. Like there was still a lot of, let me go back. We'll go to those dupes in a second because I do want to talk about that. But
it's wild this week.
Have a quick look here for a second though. So Tiger Woods, 8%, Hatton, 8%. Just naming some of these AM guys that didn't end up getting any ownership really when you think about it. Keep going down here. Kuchar, 7%. Bobby Mack, 7%. We're talking about the main.
Sebastian Munoz, 9%. Like
who's that?
Munoz is 9% playing the best golf of his life. Like
he is for sure. Yeah, that's one of those value plays. I was saying that like I liked him. That's where I, looking down the board, I'm looking at like Sam Burns, 6%. Again, no major experience. Your boy Harmon. I was going to say this earlier.
3%.
If I had known, he was actually probably the better than Riley. Like play him instead of Noren. They're both similar dudes. Both have bad clothes. Both can grind out a weekend. Like they got the same setup. And the ownership was just ridiculous. And he's treated you really well to the tune of $1 million at the Players. So let's go down to these dupes. So that was just to name like a few, but there was definitely guys that you could play.
It goes down the whole thing though. Your point is right. Like that's where the edge is. Yeah. There's a few that we probably would. I mean,
Woodland, 5%.
Like that's just an incredible play in the early wave. I don't care what happens. Like
Hoagie, 4%, Lanto, 4%. Like there's
all these are good ones. So the bad ones we kind of agree on are, God, I got to pull up the actual field numbers. Noren, I think Noren for sure ended up being probably, in my opinion, if I knew these ownerships, he would be the one I'd be most uncomfortable with.
Yeah, if I could go
even
back
at 15, like at 15, when all those guys are 3, 4, 5% down there, I would still rather just those other guys. But overall, though, now that I stacked it, like I couldn't be happy. I don't have a ton of uniques as you're about to talk about, but I'm comfortable with my numbers. And again, it's a freaking milli maker. What's the word? Okay, I chop it with a few people because I have that build. Like I'm okay with that, and I'm sure like other sites. Because as we talk about the uniques, other sites are going to have way more uniques more than likely because it's how they play, more guys. It's just the roster construction. When you congregate your player pool down to 30, Big Rob had 27, Hoop had 29, JSU had 25, Tambo had 65, but he does it differently where he'll go different directions and stuff.
I played both wave stacks. That's why, like I said, I still played some of the other side just to get some of those guys in there because I knew, like I said, from last time, only 1% did it. So what if?
I think that's a good move too. Like I said that yesterday. If I was doing to, I would have just done both sides, like 70%, 30%, or whatever the number was. I wouldn't have had any mixed and match teams this week.
I'm just pulling yours up because if you guys don't have it, you can go on Fantasy Labs and go to the contest dashboard. You have some dupes in there, Big T, but you only have like 5 bad dupes, like 20 guys. Like that.
How do you see like the ones that have I don't know how to even look at that part where you see
most of your dupes are with 2 to 3 people.
See, those I don't even mind. Like
one. Yeah, like you got.
It should almost be like a separate category where it shows like 10 or more dupes or something. Those are the bad ones. You don't want 10 or more, but like 3, who cares? You're chopping up 1.5 million between 5 of you. Like
when you're punching out a strategy like this, it's what you said earlier. Like, yeah, there's going to be that. You still have over 100 lineups that can get there on their own. You've got another 20 to 30 that are 1 or 2. Like,
how do you see that part though? That's what I'm curious of.
When you pull your name up under the contest, so you go to Fantasy Labs, you go to contest dashboard, and then you go to the contest, which is the $25
the
millionaire
contest
maker
part.
And then when you type in your name, so you go Big T 44,
I got that part up.
Pull it up, and then you click
lineups.
You can see
I
it there.
got you.
And then it'll tell you your uniques, everything like that. But the idea is that just going back, I think it's a fine line, because I was going to say something there, like the setup that some do, like obviously if like someone's like, oh, I got 150 uniques, I'm the man. And I go look, and it's like they ran every lineup between 48 and 49. That's fine. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. I'm just saying, like, of course, you can't really victory lap uniques when you know the whole field runs at 49 and up. It's like you were going to get uniques. You still need stuff to go your way, and the optimal can pop in that range. Anything can happen. So it's not bad strategy. I'm just laughing when people are victory lapping it. Like, of course,
uniques don't mean as much as people think. Don't get me wrong. If you run your stuff and you're comfortable and you get uniques, absolutely you love it. But they're not. I mean, you still got to win the contest. And just because you don't have as many uniques, I mean, we've had a ton of success with a bunch of uniques, and it just doesn't matter. You still, like Tambo said, you still got a ton of uniques out there. Like I got 104 uniques still, even playing super chalky. I really don't have. I mean, I stacked a lot of the popular players. I don't know. Well, I want to know what this dude on Twitter though. So Sky sent that tweet to us with the numbers, and he said this is what took the fun out of DFS. What does that even mean? A spreadsheet with the ownerships is what took the fun out of DFS?
I'm so lost. What one was? What tweet was it on? It
was off of the one that showed all the 150ers. Oh, it was off my tweet. I sent it and said hoop with the edge, and then
it's just someone who hates that you have 150.
Because obviously, the 150 is what it has to be. You can't lose if you play 150.
Yeah, he's like he can't win because he doesn't have 150, and you're obviously you have like 10 guys on that sheet. You're all winning first place because you all have 150. That's all.
We all have to chop it because we all played 150.
Anyone who played 150 wins. You know that. You know that. A strategy question in here. KBB 19622 says, "What is your balance between hand building and using a lineup builder as you construct for a typical week?" I know what the answer is for you, but does an optimizer enter your process at all, or only at a particular point? I think you use it for everything now, and that's been your sort of key to success. The secrets only come out at times on the premium shows, I think, of what you're actually doing with the optimizer. But talk a little about that. I'm sure there's some watching that want to know, like, not what you do exactly, how you set it up, but there is a huge difference than just going back to that 150 thing. If you have 150, you'll print. You can't just click a button and go. It's how you set it up in the first place. What you force it to basically spit out, you sort of maneuver it, and then you get what you want. Talk about that a little bit and how you use it towards PGA.
Yeah, I think it's very important to use the optimizer. I've talked about it a ton over the last 2 years. I think it just got me to a much better place DFS wise. It helps me. A couple of these big wins have only been because of an optimizer and entering my numbers. Obviously, PGA is a little trickier. We'll talk about it on a bunch of the premium stuff at Run Pure, just how we do it. But in general, my strategy is pretty dialed in on PGA, where I run the 150 on the optimizer, or 147. I play 3 main teams basically every week, put them in all the different stuff. And I'll usually hand build those 3. I'll at least hand build 2 of them. And the third one, sometimes I'll put my optimal from the optimizer if I really like it, because I always want to be comfortable with my hand builds, exactly whatever my strategy is. And so I'll usually hand build 3. Maybe one of them is from the optimizer. Like sometimes you'll run your 150 and the top team is just exactly what you want for your main team. It doesn't always happen. Sometimes it's more of a 150 like skill set where you have some more contrarian guys that pop up top. But in general, I would say, yes, I use the optimizer every week. I change all my projections based on who I like, who I want. I X out a lot of the guys that I don't want. Obviously, that's how I get 30 some guys every week. But I always hand build my main team. I want to feel comfortable, and it might be just a different strategy. Like this week, I think it was perfectly in play in your 150 to jam the weather edge, and then your main team or something. Maybe you wanted to play Scotty with those guys, or maybe you wanted to do something different with your main team. I think that's okay. And I actually, with some of the ownerships, like on Rory and Spieth and these guys in the bigger one, I wouldn't hate just getting different in that thing and playing the Hovlands and the lower guys from that wave that would give you because these guys are high. I mean, Rory was my favorite play of the week by a mile, but he's still extremely high owned, where when he misses, you get some great leverage in a milli maker format with 600 people in that mega.
Yeah.
It's just not that many people. All of a sudden, if Rory does miss, and you could hedge a little bit too, where you got him in a bunch of your 150. If he crushes and wins, you're probably going to do decent in the smaller stuff. Yeah, you're going to lose the mega, and then flip it though. Like you could do the exact opposite, and when he misses the cut, you're going to hurt a little bit in your 150, but your mega is going to have a chance to do really well because he busted.
We'll talk about some strategy here in a second. As we speak, Tiger one under through one, just busting shit out, throwing a dart.
I played him did you play him?
I played him in the AM stacks. Yeah, as I said, but very small. I wasn't playing him anything big. I didn't trust it enough for that. But we talked last night on the show about I think it was minus 150 to make the cut. People were saying like he's probably not going to make the cut. Well, the books disagreed and gets the good tee time, gets everything set up proper for him.
He's under 10% too.
Comes in hot. As I said, he was 8%. So I called it out earlier. And then you've got Y.E. Yang chipping in and John Daly at 2 under. Like, are we back?
John Daly almost pulled out on number one too. That thing was in. That was a dart.
2004 leaderboard right now. But yeah, no, that's good. I think one of the just strategy pieces you just talked about. One was for me, even if you were going, so last night I was like almost going to just flip in my mega, just going back to it. I was going to run like all PM guys. Cause if I just ran the best plays, it ended up being based on such low ownership that it was just all the afternoon guys that everyone wished they could play, but then didn't. I opted to run that in one of my 888s instead, because there's still 200K up top. But for the mega, my thing was not Rory because, and I want to talk about something else in a second with this, but not Rory because I knew everyone that had the money left over would like, it was just, you could build any lineup you wanted to even land on Rahm, Scheffler, or whatever. I'll go to that in 1 second, but it was like, everyone was just getting to Rory and then looking for an upgrade down low. And so that's why I just says, screw it. I'm going to play the Hovland play. I know it's not the best, but I think there's a good leverage spot here with him. The squeeze between Rory and Spieth, I was okay with it. But Hoop mentioned something on the show last night. I'll get your comments on it because I think you thought it was pretty sharp. I definitely did as well. I was happy he could hop onto the show with us. And he talked about, what about in something high stakes like that? He said, be a better play in high stakes to run 5 a.m. guys with like a Rahm or a Scheffler, because while the rest of the field's landing on Rory or squeezing all those 9K guys in, whether it was Xander, Decky, if you wanted to risk them with the neck, we'll see what happens there. Spieth, Cam Smith, Hovland, you had all the AM guys with Rory above them. But if you went 5 a.m. guys to play the wave that you liked, but then just hoped for a Scheffler or a JT or a Rahm, Morikawa to battle through if there even was going to be elements. What did you really think of that strategy for the people watching now? Because I know we liked it at the time, but talk about that a little bit, because I thought that was pretty sharp as well.
Yeah, I agree, especially after kind of where they're at. So what did Scheffler come in the mega? Do you know off the top of your head?
Yeah, I can pull it up here now.
So Rory at 36%, like without knowing, I'm assuming Scheffler's like 15%, 10 to 15% in that thing. I mean, you're getting 3 times the ownership on Rory. I love Rory. He was my pick to win. I think he crushes, but man, I would have a hard time not just pivoting to Scheffler, and still then you're different. Like you said, you can still get teams that are just so good because of how many good guys were around 7K, 6,800, 6,600. So many good plays down in there that, as Josh just said, 11% for Scotty. I don't know if that was.
Oh, wow. So you know what I just noticed? I don't think he did. Maybe he did. He did actually. My bad. So we didn't talk about this earlier, but he did do the reversal. So Scheffler 17 down to 10.
Yeah.
In that one. Tiger
just
went down
general,
to 5.
like
Rahm went down to 7. JT went down. Well, JT went from 17. He was the biggest difference. 17% in the $25 to 9% in that. So when you compare Rory at 36% in the mega, or JT at 9, Scheffler at 10, Rahm at 7, these guys JT played his best golf. He's actually his only good golf at the Players during the windiest round. So even if they could just battle through, and what if a bunch of different things happen where it doesn't even matter, that was a great opportunity just to leverage up in that spot. And I kind of regret not fully going in on that now, just because you could get any of those guys. I loved Rahm. I know you love Scheffler for good reason. We had our own little side bet there, but I think that's just an example though, where, you're not committing like we always would say, which you guys did, but you can commit in your 150 like you guys did, Big T, and then play your mega that it's still 5 out of 6 in. And all you're saying is I need one of these PM guys that are, literally the best in the world, number one in Scotty or number two in John Rahm, whatever you want to do there, and get them in the mix to be able to make a cut. And then like, that's the thing. If they make the cut, a guy like Scotty or Rahm can throw up a 64, 65 on Saturday and just cruise from there on Sunday, closers mentality. So any other thoughts on that? Because some of those differences are just huge.
Yeah, it's just crazy. I don't think you ever see it this dramatic either, where the one thing I would say, though, if you're in the smaller stakes and you played a lot of AM, I think you're in very, very good shape just looking at the stuff. I mean, the ownerships, yeah, we would flip in the high stakes, but it's because of how sharp everyone is. And so many people just buried the better plays. But you look at the smaller stake stuff, and I bet it's even more dramatic at the $5 than the $20 or the small milli, the $25. If we go down to the $5, I bet it's even more exaggerated where, I mean, you're talking about JT and Scheffler and these guys at like 15 to 20%. That's just massive edge in the small stakes to have the Rorys and the Spieths and the Cam Smiths and so it goes both directions for sure. Like, and one thing too we should talk about is just this weather, man. We talked about the edge. There is no wind right now. The conditions are absolutely perfect. I just feel very, very strongly that we made the right decision, and we're not being results oriented right now. The tournament just started, but looking at the weather, like Hoop said yesterday, and you, like, even say today plays somewhat similar and we get this round locked in with hardly any wind, good conditions. Even the greens are always better in the mornings. It rained a little bit yesterday. Yeah. Perfect conditions. At the absolute worst, we're at like a 50-50 draw with the other side of the flight. It can't go the other direction really on us unless something weird happens, but I just don't see it. I think it's like the biggest edge we've seen by just jamming these flights.
Yeah, it's probably good. We got about probably 10 minutes left we'll do here, but just to round it out on that conversation, because a couple things I'll add. And if you guys aren't signed up at Run Pure Sports yet, I know some of you aren't, you can move on over there, runpuresports.com. We have a code PGA50. It hasn't run out yet. It's still on there. It gets you 50% off your first month. The benefit would be, though, right now, it's all sports one price. So, of course, you got UFC coming up this weekend. You got MLB. We got NBA playoffs, showdown, some of the biggest edge that you can talk about on the year, and Big T just crushes it along with everybody else. But just to talk about that. But the best part about signing up right now and using the code is, first off, after this event, there's three really good. I know we've had some bad PGA events, but we got the Schwab, we got the Memorial, then we got the RBC Canadian Open. The Memorial and the Canadian Open are two great events because the Canadian Open is a prep for what follows, which is the US Open. So if you sign up right now, even just for a month and get set up, you get half price and you get all sports for one price. You can get in the Discord, you can get on these premium shows, see what we're all about, but you're going to get the next major where the biggest money is on the line. So I definitely suggest doing that. But just to go back, because this was on our premium show last night, Big T, and we talked about this. This was not to me or you or who like the players. At the players, if things flip because of storms and everything, it could really change the game and push what the perceived good wave was into a now bad wave and flip it on its head. In hindsight, like I said, that 1% that ran the other side, we should have did a lot more. We should have more conversation around that. But just looking here, the winds backed up, pushed off. Like this morning, we have 7 to 10 miles per hour. This afternoon goes 14 to 17 with the same gusts. So it got better in that sense. A little bit of rain came down. So you got a little bit wetter, softer conditions out there now. The greens we knew for the week, people had talked about it. They couldn't run super fast, 10 to 11 on the stimp because they couldn't have, the certain angles and set up the tee boxes certain ways and whatnot. So that you already had a better setup for that. Tomorrow, the winds still show very heavy gusts in the morning, 20 to 22 miles an hour, and then tapers down to like 15, 16 with half the gusts. Even if that didn't come to fruition, even if they came out tomorrow and said, it's the integrity of the game, we're not going to put out half the leg in this wind, we're going to wait 2 hours and let everyone play in the same conditions, you didn't really lose. You still had this morning in better conditions. You still had the potential tomorrow to be equal with the rest of the crowd. And if somehow, because there's potential rain in tomorrow afternoon's forecast now, we talked a little bit about this yesterday. If somehow our PM guys for tomorrow got pushed into Saturday is like 5 to 7 with after the rain comes down, even softer conditions. Like there was just no real downfall, but there was the upside of the what if it is right. And that's where I think people get like, it's going to be so fun on Twitter if nothing goes the way. You already know people are coming out to dunk, right? They can't wait to see this AM PM fail like at the Players. They're just so happy to talk about it. I think people are so lost in the sauce when it comes to this stuff. Like, we don't care about what the result is. We can only go, your lineup's lock when it hits lock. All you can build off is what the potential edge was. We knew this, and I tried to explain it back at the Players. When 93% of the tournament is not trying to attack a potential edge, which turned out to be a massive edge the other way.
Which was still an edge. It proved the point being right.
It proved the point. All you had to do was run 10% of your lineups the other time and say everyone's wrong and go the other way. And you would have been in much better shape to at least have hope, 20%, whatever, to get after it. So all it showed, and it showed again this time, I think it's 10 or 11% total. Almost 90% of the field just said, forget it. I'm just going to play who I want. It can work out. It could end up being on the winning lineup, but that's results oriented. When you get to the winning lineup and say, see, you didn't need to play any edge. True. That can be the true factor.
Why were they thinking that proved it last time, though? I had so many people that were like, you thought it was going to be the weather edge. The weather edge did freaking ship. It just was the other way. It proved the point. They didn't realize that it was actually proving the point that you should do it.
That's what I was trying to say. 99% of the field didn't play the other way weather edge, and therefore they just wanted to call out. It's like the old Albert Einstein 1 + 1 is he writes all the numbers on the board. He gets the last one wrong on purpose, and the whole class goes crazy. That's how the saying goes. I love this one. And he says, see, he goes, that's all it took. He said, I just got 9 equations right, but on all you want to call out is the 10th one that I got wrong. And that's what we do we love doing it too. It's all good. We're happy to have people come at it, but I just think it's funny that people still couldn't understand that was proving the edge. It just didn't prove the edge people said. That's the difference, I guess. Yep. And that's what I see here. I don't see a big downside. We'll see how it plays out, but I don't think
our boy Jay Reed posted some low stakes stuff in the live show chat. And it's just funny the difference. Like, the edge is the people that are always, I could win. The scores are lower in the high stakes. Look at these ownerships in I don't know what stakes it is. He says the low stakes, but you got Rory is 19 under 20% owned. You got Cantlay is the same percentage as Rory. Justin Thomas is the same as Cam Smith. Like, those are like, your edge is so freaking big in those to play Cam and Rory over like Cantlay and JT. Like, man, I mean, you'd have to lay like minus 200 to get those two versus those two. Like, it's crazy how much bigger the edge is in those small ones.
Yeah, like if you look there, like you said, looking at Cantlay is still almost 20% there.
Jeez, that's outrageous. Like, the edge on that is literally, and this is why I like to do this on Thursday. Because if we do it on Monday and Cantlay wins the tournament, then, Cantlay was a great play at 18, 19%. No, I mean, he wasn't. He was a bad play, but I don't know. It's tough. Now, I wanted to talk about one other thing too.
Yeah, bring it up. I love what you just said, though. That's the funny part, and that's what you'll get at Run Pure. Like, we're not talking about results. We can get crushed. I can lose 5 figures this week, no problem.
Lose every entry.
But I'm telling you what I'm playing, and I'm putting my money behind it, and it is what it is. That's just what we do, and the point behind it is, long term, it'll pay off. It's been a good season so far. You and I went back to back the week after I got back from your house. You had a huge week after I just had a huge week there. That was only 6 weeks ago, whatever now, and you just keep playing the same way, and it'll pay off over the long term. You just have to get behind your takes and have conviction. So go ahead. What else did you have to bring up here?
So I wanted to talk about our boy Cam, because he has crushed all season. The dude put 18 entries in the 4K, which is just massive. I mean, he
told me last week, he said to me, he texted me, if I ship, I'm maxing. And then he texted me.
Is that what the max was? 18?
So the man lost 60 grand on the last hole because of an all 4 under 70 bonus for Munoz. So he dropped in the 555 from 100K down to 40. It was a 60K drop last week, but he still shipped 330 because he had like first and second in the 3K. And he just texted me, I guess I'm maxing. But it's like the money he just lost is what he has to max with. So it's like he just doubled down on that L, but he crushed for the week.
I was going to take it even further. Not only did he max it, he locked Cam Smith, all 18 teams. What a freaking hero Cam is. Just no fear in the world. Just jam it in there. Like, I love Cam Smith, and Cam's been, I mean, he's just crushed. He's got 55% speed, 100% Cam Smith. So, like, in a format like this, where he spreads himself around pretty much after that. Like if Cam Smith and Spieth finish in the top 5, like this dude is going to freaking print. And that's what we do at Run Pure that I think we do better than other places. We take stands. Okay, yeah, if Cam misses the cut, he's probably going to lose all his money this week or close to it. But when Cam Smith and Spieth crush and finish even top 10, like dude is going to smash because of how overweight he is on those two when the rest of the field just doesn't do stuff like that.
Yeah, I just pulled it up. You guys are wanting to follow along at home. So on Twitter, it's at Club Cam Cole, CLUBCAMCOLE. And if you pull it up on Fantasy Labs and pull up his stuff, you just mentioned it. So 18 lineups, all unique, by the way. And if you look at it, it's because the way he set it up, like he's got Brooks in there with Cam Smith and Tiger. He's got an all AM lineup, but it's with like Tiger, Homa, and Hoagie in there on top of the Rory Cam Smith. So situational stuff.
It's such a good build.
You know, Siwoo in there with some of these morning guys. And then there's the build that Hoop talked about. So he's got Noren, Hoagie, Siwoo, Young, Smith, and then he adds Scotty Scheffler for the full salary. But he's got the 2 guys we said have played the best this year in the same build. Yeah. And then as we said, James Mihal hops in and says Cam double. Let's go see the results real quick. Anything
That's why
else?
I like doing it on Thursday though, because you're not going to be results oriented when you're looking at it. If you do it on Monday, it's impossible not to be a little results oriented when a dude misses the cut and stuff.
I wonder
one other thing about the mega too. So I got Cam 3 Smith uniques. You got a unique.
1 under through 2.
What's that?
I was just saying Cam Smith was 1 under through 2, so he'll drop back.
I mean, the scoring is going to be tough anyways. Like people are going to make bad numbers. But yeah, we all got uniques too, except for somehow who played one in the thing. He always plays big. He didn't have he's got like the chalkiest build ever for his one. It's probably his cash team.
It definitely is. It's the
Rory Jordan,
Rory
Xander.
It's just his cash lineup.
Yeah.
That's where people sometimes misunderstand it too. Like you think he cares about that one. Like he's just putting it in case.
No, yeah, it's just his main squad.
It's his main team. And that's the thing about golf. Your main team can ship and it's duped 3 times. Like, so it's not,
yeah, he's not going to be disappointed at all when that's the nuts.
Remember, it's $1 million up top. So he's not going to be disappointed. It's going to be more than most people ever make in their life.
He'll probably still make $1 million if that team ships just from all the other stuff
involved. Yeah. They'll make a lot. And mine was unique. Yeah. So I just wanted to check it. I didn't actually check
Shoes was unique. Big Rob's had 2 unique and all 3 of mine were unique. So we did good with the unique. When I get in a format like that, because it's not going to be, it is my main team, but I don't play cash like Hoop. So I definitely worry about that. Like when I get in that 4K, sure, I'm not totally disappointed if there's like 1 or 2 with me, but it does feel good when you see just unique. So you know that if your team ships, you're not chopping it. You're getting that whole milli.
Yeah, I personally love it. Like I said, what you said earlier, uniques are definitely important. We weren't discounting that. Yeah. I'm saying when people get, if you set your salary cap to max 47K, of course you're going to be unique.
You're going to have all unique
times. Like nobody does that. So yeah, you will be unique and anything can happen. So there's nothing wrong with it. I'm just laughing at when they're saying I got my 150 and you had 105. Well, yeah, but it's a different setup. I want to talk about this real quick while we're here, because you mentioned JSU's. I want to see his. I think this is extremely sharp. For playing the same, like he's playing all morning guys. Obviously, he went 128. We made fun of him earlier, but I like this lineup quite a bit because he went Rory, Cam Smith, Spieth, Bobby Mack, Kuchar, and Mito. And it sounds like on paper, like if you look 36, 30%, 30%, 13, 10, and 16, all double digit ownership. Mind you, Kuchar's barely, he's 10. I got him in mind too. I love it. I know you had him in your core, Big T, or I believe you were on him. Maybe not in your core, but he
was in my core. Yeah.
Yeah, you did have him. That's what I thought. Anyway, but he left $300. And if you think about this, Mito, yeah, he's 16%. Yeah, he's popular more than that there, but that $300 everyone else spent to go to Noren, and then it's a duped lineup, I'm guessing, or like a 1v1 off. Here, I think he's in better shape. He used 3 6K guys, but 3 of the higher price 6K guys where there's not much difference. Like the guys at 71.
Roar's just chipped in for us, I think. Mr. Roar. I think Twitter's going crazy about it.
Yeah, my shit's blowing up here when we're trying to do this. I'm trying to focus.
It's definitely that's why I wanted to get in and look at it before the things get going.
Yeah. And Rob, our guy, record 62, another Millie Maker winner. doing a lot of content now with us over at RPS, just killing it on sometimes you can catch him on even the free Friday show he does on the Mail Media Network. I do the Thursday one with Hoop and Snyder.
Right? I think,
yeah, he's been doing the Friday one and crushing it going into Saturday round 3 showdown. So definitely check that out if you guys haven't. Again, here, if you can hit the like button, subscribe, definitely appreciate it for our channel here on RPS. But he's got Spieth, Cantlay, Willie Z, Fitzpatrick, Young, McIntyre. So 1, 2, 3, 4 morning guys with Cantlay and Fitz. I like that from the afternoon. So he did a 4-2.
Those are the builds I hate. I just played golf with my boy Rob. I'm allowed to make fun of him a little. And who knows? It doesn't mean I'm right. I hate playing like a 4-2. Like if I did it, it would be like one guy with like Scotty or something like that. 4-2.
One thing I will say, because Rob's sharp and I do like this, maybe him and I are thinking the same here.
Yeah.
Those two, I said this on the show last night. I said there's only 6 guys. I said obviously the 4 at the top. If you're doing a 5-1 or anything, I said that you want to mix the 4 at the top. And then I said Lowry, Fitzpatrick, and that was it. That was the 6 guys because I thought Lowry, Fitzpatrick, Cantlay was the 7th. That's what I was trying to say. Yeah. So he picked 2 from that bunch. And obviously you can't get up top when you already got Spieth, but he picked Cantlay and Fitz. Those are the types of guys that I think just play a good enough game, can battle through even if there was elements, and can definitely grind for you over the weekend. Like I said, people were forgetting, I think the weekend is important. You still need to put up a score.
More important than Thursday, Friday, even in a way, because just because your guys make the cut
so many times, like
they still got to do something.
Well, that was my thing. And I know you like this guy and a lot of people like him. My boy Mayo loved him too. Mr. Ryan Fox. Dunk on me. I don't care. I hope he does for you guys' sake. I'm just saying, like, to play him. Yeah. Good wave. Upside, almost won last week. Great form. I get it. I'm saying, do I get 4 consistent days out of him? That worried me because where he makes the cut, there could be a situation. I'll use him again, not results oriented, where a 5 out of 6 beats a Ryan Fox lineup because Ryan Fox goes plus 15 over the weekend and someone else already has a guy that outscored him in their 6th man spot that doesn't come through. It's just little things like that I think about. I think it's a little bit different. And then Rob's other lineup was Rory, DJ, Neiman. So he went off the rails with this one, didn't even care, and played DJ, Neiman, Davis. Like it was a good lineup overall, I'm saying, but he avoided the AM PM and just played the mix and match game. I don't hate it. And that's got a lot of upside. Rory, DJ, Neiman, Finau, Kokrak. That's like 5 guys that it's a long shot for Kokrak to win, but he's a winner. He's won on tour, 3 times now in the last year and a half. So some of the course comp stuff was going his way. The other 4 could definitely win. And then Cam Davis, the one value play. I love it. I think it's a great build and unique again. So the Mail Media Network.
I'm out on Big Rob. Big Rob will be golfing again, I'm sure, this weekend or early. I'm out on your teams. Those I don't like those 2.
Yeah, you can be more honest with them.
You can be more honest with them. I love Big Rob. Big Rob's one of my favorite people. I love
Big Rob. So I'm saying I do like those lineups. I
only talk trash to the people I like. If I don't talk trash to you, then I don't like you.
That's exactly it. We know this. Or what's the other line? Is it? It's what do you say?
I
forget now. You always say the same like, I don't like him. You just said it, I guess. It's always the same thing.
I definitely don't like those 2 teams, though. So prove me wrong, Rob. The funny story about Rob's Millie is all Bryson had to do, I was going to win Millie number 2, and Rob stole it from me. So I'm still mad about that, Rob. I'm making fun of your teams now.
The truth comes out. Yeah, it's $1 million. It's a lot of money we're talking about. So yeah, I remember that. That's what can happen, though. That's we talked about these majors.
Got to get to the finish line. Tambo just said it. Just because your guys, even going into Sunday, if your guys are top 10, they still got to get to that finish line. You need 4 rounds. They can't blow up on Sunday.
I know this all too well. I'm coming. My recent form, Big T, is 2nd, 3rd, and 8th in the 555.
This is the week, I think. House. I feel like we were dialed in this week.
Yeah, it's time to finish strong and ship a millie. Anything else you want to add before we get out of here?
No, I like looking at this stuff. Hopefully we helped a little. On Thursdays, we can try to do more of this stuff where we look at percentages and stuff, just because it's before the results come in. Like we said, I don't really think, you can still look at it on Mondays, but just look at it through the lens of ownerships, not results. Like right now, there's no results. So it's really helpful to look through it and let us know if you want us to cover anything. I mean, Mangone will usually be on this show. He was sick, so we covered for him today. But just let us know, because Thursday's a great day to kind of review the PGA before the results come in.
Yeah, I love that call. That's what we should be doing. Like, this is the key to everything is, analyzing your play. If you're trying to play at high level or any of this stuff, you have to know what the field's doing, what you're up against. I think, the review process we did during NFL, myself, Kay Fallick, and JSU,
Great
I think
show.
It was a premium show, I want to say, because it's really good. A lot of people that tune in for that show took a lot away, but we go back and basically do this after the results, though. For NFL, we may end up adding something like that. It's a little tough with golf because Mondays are busier and, a lot of things going on to get the week started with golf. So trying to come out of it, but we'll work on something. Again, if you guys haven't, hit the like button, hit the subscribe. If you haven't got over to RPS yet, go to runpuresports.com. Use that code before it expires, PGA 50% off all sports, one price. It ends, I think, in 24 hours. We'll probably use it tonight on the Mayo Media Network. We've got the free show. I'll be on Snyder and Hoop going through round 2 showdown. If you see what the weather update looks like, all of that stuff. But if you guys aren't over there yet, like I said, it'll get you through to the US Open. And if you don't like us after that, just cancel it. We don't care. I think you'll love it. If you like this show, it's a lot like this and even more in depth as we go through the premium stuff. So keep it rolling for Big T and for myself, Toe Tag and Tambo. Simon, get us out of here.